John Gomez Show. Every single day we kick it off at noon to 2. Lunch with Gomez on 103.9 LI News Radio. Remember, you could follow us no matter where you go, no matter where you are, at linewsradio.com. Just click on the Listen Live link. Also, if you care to hop on board, 631-451-1039 is the number to make contact. Also, you can write to me, Gomez, Gomez, at linewsradio.com. Joining me on the Newsmaker line is tax attorney David Selig. David, welcome aboard. How are you, sir?
Hey, thanks for having me on, John. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's always good to listen. If there's one entity we have to keep a close tabs on, it's the IRS, and it's any type of tax entity in the state or local level. I'll tell you that much, and you're the guy.
Sure.
This is very interesting news out of the New York Post. Deadbeat taxpayers, and the question I raised, well, deadbeat taxpayers, if you owe more than $10,000, apparently the state could come in and suspend your license. Is that true, David?
That is a fact. Our Governor Cuomo, put this into effect as far back as August. I've been carrying on about this business, but, they're defending by saying driving is a privilege, not a right. Of course, in many cases, when they suspend your license, it renders people unable to get to and from work. There is a very small degree of relief available. You can purchase a hardship license, additional $75 fee, but of course you have to take time away from work. And, in this economy right now, I appreciate that the state wants to get its hands on every dollar they believe is owing, but it's causing a great deal of pain. I would go so far as to say it's abusive.
Well, the first question I had was I was curious whether or not Tim Geithner has a New York State driver's license.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have individuals who, this has gotten so much coverage, we actually put it on the front page of our website. You have individuals who have minor liabilities, but during the fullness of time, penalties and interest, the whole bit, particularly a matter like sales tax, which charges about 14% interest. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And the liability itself is relatively small, a couple $100, but with the imposition of penalties and interest, far and away exceeds $10,000. All of a sudden, they get a nasty gram from the state, and if they ignore it, get pulled over, you will be arrested. It is not a desk appearance ticket. They will put the bracelets on you. You will be arraigned. It's a humiliating experience, so I would urge anyone who has a problem with the state to get themselves into an installment agreement toot sweet, because it's a serious matter.
Now, you're David Selig. Your website is truetaxhelp.com. True, True, taxhelp.com. One thing you mentioned quickly, David, was the hardship license. I've never heard of that. Can you explain that for a minute?
Well, it's a new animal they've created because they realize they are depriving people of the ability to get to and from work, or to buy groceries, or perhaps to take your child or a loved one to a medical doctor or even a hospital without risking arrest. So as another way to gin up income, they'll allow you to spend $75, give that over to the state, and they'll give you a restricted license that you can use to and from work, which sounds good on its face.
Right.
Of course, it's, as I said, if you have to take time away from work, a lot of people, because of the economy, because of their tax burdens, because of 100 legitimate reasons as well as bad decisions, cannot afford to miss a day's work. They're living hand to mouth. And you still have to go down to the Department of Motor Vehicles. They have not improved that much. It's like when you were a kid and you would go there. It was an all-day affair.
Let me ask you this. Is this federal taxes or state taxes, or is this just your state taxes?
This is just the state, New York State today.
So if you fail to properly pay your federal income taxes, then the state's not going to come in and take your life. Okay, it's just your state.
John, I want to tell you something very funny that's happening. I get calls periodically from people who go to these casinos here in New York. There's one right by the airport, and all of a sudden they're the big winner. And if they owe New York State taxes, the state grabs it right there.
Is that right? So that's why they're in the casino business.
Yeah, they're in the casino business in a big way. So they will enforce a tax liability, not federal, just state, and they will enforce a state child support obligation, which I'm in favor of.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
The tax issue, though, it does not allow for a genuine dispute, because remember, if you have a good faith dispute going with the state, they don't even acknowledge it. They'll just take the money, and you know how difficult it is to get money back from a
yeah, sure,
state
absolutely.
agency.
Yeah.
Sure.
So just before you go, David, if you could just outline exactly, and it's for those. Is it the $10,000? Is that the benchmark? Is that the thing that triggers it?
That's what it is. It can affect you if you owe personal income tax or if you were a responsible person for a business, sales and use taxes.
Wow.
A lot of people get bitten on the behind. They could be a bookkeeper, not even aware they're on the hook, that perhaps the boss wasn't paying over those amounts, and then one day is the day of reckoning. They find out the bad news.
Hey, wait a minute, David. That's serious stuff. You're not even getting the main culprit.
Yeah, I kid you not. Well, it's a shotgun approach to liability, and in my estimation, they play very fast and loose with the rules.
And another thing is, you may be innocent of the whole thing, right?
Absolutely, and that is not an uncommon occurrence. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who are quite literally, let's use this phrase, they may not like it, but guilty.
Yeah.
They don't feel guilty in their heart. But then again, you have a lot of people who have done nothing wrong. They did everything right, and yet the owner of the business or someone misappropriated the payments, didn't pay it over, and all of a sudden they're on the hook. Very frustrating.
Wait a minute, David. I apologize, David. This is going to take a little bit more time than I expected.
All right.
This is all of a sudden I'm starting to formulate a civil rights issue here, because you're basically taking away my freedom. You're locking me up without my due process. Is that right? I mean, do they have? What's the probable cause? It's just that it's their estimation. It could be a tax mistake. I mean, we know the IRS. We know how it operates. Ask Lois Lerner. I mean, it's holy mackerel. All of a sudden,
good point.
All of a sudden, David, I can see, all the Tea Partiers and ultra conservative members out here on Long Island being pulled over. All of a sudden they're wrongly arrested and they're thrown into jail right before Election Day.
John, what I'm concerned of is this is just a harbinger of things to come.
Yeah.
I am afraid, and I can tell you, I've seen it just over the past 5 years. The enforcement arm is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the opposition, the hue and cry for fair play and to get a fair shake, is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're onto something there. Maybe we do have to get more involved.
I'll have to check my civil rights attorney buddy, Larry Kelly, and get him on this. David, it's great that you come on. I consider you the tax expert of the John Gomez Show, and I appreciate your time and effort of coming on and informing the people. Holy mackerel, I think we're on to something.
Hey, thank you very much, John. It's always a pleasure.
Very good. Thank you again. David Selig, folks, with Selig & Associates. TrueTaxHelp.com is his website. It just goes to show you how you have to stay on top of this stuff. And I concede right away. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a good form of getting fees, fining people for doing improper, wrong things. But, once you start I didn't think that, all of a sudden you could be pulled over by a police officer, your tail lights out or something like that. You're a bookkeeper in a business. They failed to properly pay their taxes for whatever reason, or it was a typo mistake by the IRS. We know they make mistakes intentionally as well as non-intentionally, and suddenly you're sitting in jail. Holy mackerel, mother of... Oh. Anyway, folks, let's go to a quick break here. You're listening to the John Gomez Show. Yours truly, John Gomez, with you on 103.9 LI News Radio. Don't